Hey, everybody. So I took a poll of a bunch of people that I know on LinkedIn. They're technicians, auto and diesel. They're service managers, people who work in the industry, my fellow instructors at UTI. And I asked them, if you could only teach a potential technician one thing, what would it be? And I wanted to find out what the common consensus was on the most important skill that a technician can have. And what I learned is that you're never going to get one answer. Everybody has a different opinion. So, from some people it was work ethic, and I'll agree that's an important thing to have, but it's not something that you can teach per se. It is something that you can demonstrate and lead by example. And then some of the responses were super specific about, I think after treatment systems, understanding after treatment systems, or electrical. They need to be really strong in electrical. And there's nothing wrong with those answers either, because to be a good diesel technician, you need to know your after treatment system. And to be just a good technician in general, you need to be really good with electrical. But what the overwhelming response was, even if it wasn't exactly worded this way, the number one skill that you can learn that will help you become a successful technician is critical thinking, right? So as an instructor, I can teach you what a diesel oxidation catalyst does, and kind of how it works. And I can teach you what a diesel particulate filter does and how it works. Critical thinking is the ability to take these two different pieces of information and understand how they relate to each other, so that if you have DPF regen issues, you understand how the diesel oxidation catalyst is affecting that, right? So that's something that I see that is really, really missing with a lot of potential technicians, current ones and ones that are in school, is that ability to take information, and unless it's spelled out in black and white, not being able to do what you need to do with it to troubleshoot and repair vehicles, right? So how do you teach critical thinking skills? The best way to do that is to ask lots of questions, right? So you need to be able to give your students information and then ask them questions that make them think about what they just learned. And it's not always easy to do, because, I'll get students that will come and bring me a lab that they've done, and I'll say, how come you didn't do this? Well, you didn't tell me to. And I'm like, well, it says to do it right here. Well, I didn't read that. Why didn't you read that? Because you didn't tell me to. And that's where I struggle with trying to get students to understand, to think for themselves, right? Read the information that's available. Think outside the box. Just because someone doesn't tell you to do something, or doesn't tell you that A and B equal C, does not mean that A and B doesn't equal C. You have to be able to do that, because once you get out of school, once you get into a shop, you're not going to have somebody there standing next to you going, well, Johnny, now that you know this is not working right, what's the next step? Should it be this? No, you're going to have to be able to connect those dots internally. Critical thinking skills help with that. So if you're a student, how do you improve your critical thinking skills? Well, there's a lot of ways to do that. One of the things that young people like to do nowadays is play games, right? And you can take what you do playing games and translate that into a real world situation. If someone is playing a game like Call of Duty or something that is a combat game, I know that if you're a good gamer, you're using critical thinking skills to come up with ways of doing things. Like, last time I got on this hill and positioned myself as a sniper, I got taken out by this guy who had a better position. The next time around, I'm going to try coming from this direction. Well, that's the kind of thought process that you use as a technician, is to always reassess what you just did And can I do that in a better way? Is there a way that other people have done it that has worked out better for them? Is there information I don't have that could have made that process easier? And if so, where can I go to get that information? One of the best things about being a technician is that it never really gets boring because you're always learning something. I'm almost 50 years old. I've been doing this for 30 plus years, and every day, whether it's talking to another instructor at the school or whether it's just talking to my students or just watching someone else's YouTube channel, I learn something new almost every day about being a technician. And every time I learn something new, that's something that goes into my toolbox that I can now use to make troubleshooting easier and to make my life easier as a technician. If I'm a boss and I hire you and you can't figure out why something's not working because you're not able to think critically about how different systems interact with each other and what they do, then I really don't have any use for you. And you're probably not going to last very long in that situation. And if you do, you're probably going to be stuck the rest of your career being a glorified parts replacer where someone else is getting paid the money to figure out why something is broke, and you're just the guy that takes the old thing off and puts the new thing on. And you don't want to be pigeonholed into that kind of scenario. You want to make the money where you're the guy that they come to going, why isn't this working and how do I fix it? And critical thinking is the best way to do that. So in my opinion, and in the opinion of a vast majority of people that I've talked to on LinkedIn and other sites and at the school, critical thinking is the way to go, right? It's hard to teach. It's hard to learn. It's a process that I feel really doesn't help get much attention in public schools to help prepare people for the real world when they graduate high school. But it's something that we who teach the trades, right? It doesn't matter if it's auto, diesel, welding, electricians, teaching people how to think critically is going to be whether or not that person is successful later on in their career. So I want to hear what you guys think. Do you think I'm on the right track thinking this way, that critical thinking skills are the most important thing we can learn, or am I off? Let me know. Thanks.